So I have a new Photoshop document here. This is 1920 by 1080. As you can see, it's just the background. I'm going to add a type layer, so I'm going to click on the type tool, and as soon as I click here on the screen, it's going to say lorem ipsum. This is just a placeholder type until you actually start typing the word that you want. So I'm going to type the word grow. I'm going to move this so it's in the middle of the screen here. Since I'm going to be animating, I need a timeline to work with. So I'm going to go to Window and turn on Timeline. And as you see, there isn't a timeline yet, so I need to click this button that says Create Video Timeline. So I'll click that. And if you want to, you can also go into the settings here on the right-hand side and change the frame rate. You can keep it at 2997 if you'd like. I'm going to change it to 24 right now. If you twirl down this little arrow next to grow, you'll see that there are 4 options for animation. There's transform, opacity, style, and text warp. So for transform, that is in edit, transform. These are the different ways that you can transform something. It's a lot easier to use this free transform tool. So if you click on free transform, as you see, it gives you a bounding box, so I'm going to adjust the first position. If you hold down the Option button, it constrains from the center. So I'm going to make this kind of small on the screen. And if you double-click inside of the bounding box, it will confirm that that's the position that you want it to be in. So now I'm going to add a keyframe. So I'll click on the little stopwatch tool and create a keyframe. So that transform position has been locked. Now I'm going to move ahead in the timeline. Maybe I'll go to 3 seconds. And I'm going to change the position. So again, that is in Edit. I'm going to go to Free Transform. I'm going to hold down the Option button or Alt button and make this bigger. And as you see, as soon as I let go of the mouse, it made a keyframe right here. And if this is where I want it to be and this is the size, then I'll double click inside of this bounding box and it'll confirm that. Now, if I scrub back here, I can see that it is indeed getting bigger. You'll see that there's this little thin line, this teal line, that sometimes if you make a change, here let me move the keyframe, that little thin line disappeared. It needs to play through it once to load that information into the RAM memory. So the first time you play it back, it might not be smooth. So right now, it'll probably need to play one time through. And then the next time through, it'll be a smoother playback. I'm going to move this work area since I'm working at 3 seconds. Well, a little bit more than 3 seconds. I'll just close my work area to be at the end of that keyframe. All right, so the next one is opacity. Opacity is basically the opposite of transparency. If something is 0% opaque, it's 100% transparent. And if something is 100% opaque, that means that it is 0% transparent. I'm going to click on this, and the opacity is over here on the side. Maybe I'll change this to 0 and have it very quickly go back to 100%. So that is opacity. The next one is style. I'm going to click on the little stopwatch, and then I'm going to go up to Layer, Layer Style. There are a lot of different options to choose from. I'm going to choose Drop Shadow because I think it's the most common. So this is where you can change the settings for the drop shadow. I think at first I'm going to have it really close to the word, and I'll hit OK. And then now I will go to the end. So to change the settings, you double click where it says drop shadow over here under effects. And I'll change these settings. And then when I'm done, I'll hit OK. And now it's going to animate that drop shadow. So the next one is the text warp. I'm going to turn this on to make a keyframe, and then I'm going to go to the end here. And text warp is under type and warp text. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to look at these different options. Of course, the default style is none. There are a lot of these different ways that you can warp the text. I'm going to choose bulge for this one. And then you can adjust the bend and the distortion. I think I'll leave it right here, and I'll hit OK. And now it's animating that text warp. So this is how you do some basic animation inside of Photoshop. Try it out and see if you can get it to work.